Hello and welcome to Balanced Existence. I'm coming to you today with a twin flame reading. Of course, all of my readings on this channel are intended to be for the spiritual and or twin flame collective, but I want to do a twin flame specific reading because at the end of last year, a couple months ago, at the end of 2025, and of course, whenever you're listening to this, this is a timeless message for you, but I was really strongly picking up on such a powerful and meaningful and buzzing energy in the twin flame collective and in our twin flame dynamics. And this doesn't necessarily mean in the physical 3D realm in terms of what we were experiencing with our twin flame, but definitely on the energetic realm. I can feel that there was just so much growth and evolution, at least behind the scenes, and the maturity that was developing and the wisdom that was being obtained on an energetic and spiritual level. And so I want to really tap back into that today and check in and see where the collective is at and do a general tarot reading and energy update and see what guidance wants to come through from our angels and spirit guides to help us navigate this journey with the highest clarity and peace and wisdom that we need. So starting off, we have the Page of Pentacles, and I really do feel this sums up very accurately how we feel as a collective in our twin flame dynamic. It's a card of potential. It's a card of being able to look at what's ahead and to begin to or continue to envision your manifestations and to continue to keep your head down and keep with your studious approach, your learning, your growth mindset that is dedicated to learning and building a secure future. There is definitely a desire for security, being the Pentacles card, and a desire for achieving long-term goals. And to do that, it really does take this focus and ability to study what needs to be done to achieve your goals. It's an ambitious and practical approach, as well as being able to observe the opportunities as they present themselves. So there's an internal phase. I'm seeing like a two-phase approach where there's an internal phase where you do the inner work, you do the learning about perhaps understanding what went wrong in the previous cycles of union. For many of the collective, you're in a separation, and so taking that time to really reflect mostly on yourself, because all of my readings are intended to speak on you and your journey and your internal world rather than any kind of external outcomes or anything about your external person. So there's this first phase of really keeping your head down and having the dedication and also the openness and vulnerability to look at your experiences and to understand them while continuing to have big dreams and, planning and moving forward to achieve them. Then the second phase I'm getting is when you actually kind of lift your head up and you look at what's around you. And especially when you inevitably do re-enter some kind of union or even just experience communication with your twin flame again after there was some kind of break, this ability to see the opportunities around you and ahead of you and then apply your learning and show up in a wiser way. This is that grounded wisdom that the Pentacles are bringing us. So whether you have communication or reunion with your twin flame or not, there's other ways in your life through your relationships with others, that you can begin to notice that which you needed to learn and improve upon to continue on your journey towards your highest self. So you really don't need any kind of external scenario or experience to practice all that you've learned. You really just need to observe what's being presented to you, kind of like watching your life like a movie, but then also being the main character in it. But, it's not your responsibility or burden to control or create these scenarios or circumstances around you, but rather to work from an inside out level where you do the inner work, you do take your manifestations with great responsibility and priority, but then you just flow through life and the opportunities that are presented to you. So let's get more clarification on these opportunities. We have the 3 of Cups and the 5 of Cups. So yeah, you're being tested as to which approach you're going to take. So with the Page of Pentacles first phase, where you're doing this inner work, you're planning and preparing for the manifestations you seek, which for many of this collective, you are seeking reunion with your twin flame. You are seeking healthy union, which means you are seeking a healthy internal state. And so that's why that first phase is crucial, because it's all about you and your internal world and healing trauma and doing that shadow work and addressing those triggers and parenting your inner child as all of these arise. So with the 3 of Cups and the 5 of Cups, it's this energy of how are you going to, moving forward, respond to circumstances and situations and experiences, and how are you going to approach and navigate life? Are you going to do so with this cheerful energy of connection and community and celebration, which is what the 3 of Cups brings? It's such a joyous, celebratory energy. Or are you going to approach it with the 5 of Cups, which is that pessimistic energy that is remains focused on your losses? Because of course, there are things that need to be grieved in life. That's a normal experience. But the 5 of Cups speaks to that kind of negative spiral that keeps us looking at and focusing on our losses, when the truth of the matter is there is always something to be grateful for and celebrate, which is what the 3 of Cups is representing. So I'm really picking up that for your past, especially in the dysregulated state you were in terms of your nervous system, in terms of the trauma you endured, the survival state you were in, both in your life and in your relationships, the 5 of Cups became a habit of being for many of the collective, where it was so easy for you to notice all that was wrong in your life, or all of the gaps, or all of the failures or losses or rejections that you endured. And while we don't want to bypass those challenging emotions and experiences, we do want to study and achieve that mastery, which is what the Page of Pentacles is bringing, to become that person that can see the positive and see all of the blessings that are in your life. And when we do that, we are able to constantly live in this 3 of Cups state. And the reason this is critical for your life path and your journey in your relationships is that not only does it feel better and you enjoy life more, but it puts you in that higher vibrational frequency that then allows you to manifest and magnetize your dream life, your dream relationships in a natural, effortless, and sustainable way. And this becomes automatic because you've done that inner work. So I want to channel a little bit into what may lie ahead and what guidance we may need specifically from this point moving forward. And again, this reading is timeless, so whenever you're watching it, I really want to channel the guidance that is going to best serve this collective. So we have the King of Swords. Yes, this is our divine masculine energy. This is, of course, not linked to gender, but the divine masculine is rational-minded, very logical, and of a strategic mind. This is also an embodiment of decisive authority and leadership. And it's a very intellectual card. It's focused on objective truth, and it wants to make fair decisions. And what I'm getting from this card is this story of the divine feminine on a soul level, and I'm getting chills channeling into this. The divine feminine loves and admires and appreciates and adores the King of Swords for who he is, her divine masculine. She knows he is a wise, authoritative figure. She knows that she can count on him for his sharp mind, for his honesty. And on the other side of this, there is an experience that the divine feminine embodies at times, often in her shadow, where she begins to see the King of Swords as lacking emotion or warmth, when the fact of the matter is he is making strategic decisions that are in alignment with his own truth. And I'm picking up on a specific part of the collective that there's a divine masculine who is choosing not to prioritize love and union. And this has been received by the divine feminine as a harsh and at times hurtful rejection. And as a result of this misalignment in their energies, their current energies at that time, so this is really just a misalignment in timing. As a result of that, there was mirrors being held up and projections being made. So again, the divine feminine was seeing the King of Swords as if his strengths were his weaknesses. And I'm getting so many chills with this message. And although we don't only want to operate with our divine masculine intellect and logical mind, it really is necessary to serve as the boundary for a true spiritual union between the divine feminine and divine masculine. But the divine feminine felt like her emotional wisdom and her intuition was not being valued because there wasn't a union and there wasn't the right timing for a union. And so going back to the Page of Pentacles and this inner work, you've been on this journey to remember and recognize the value that you have through your emotional wisdom and your intuition, even when you're not in union, even when you're not practicing this in a relationship. It still exists. It's very much a part of your divine feminine energy. And regardless of which you identify as, divine feminine or divine masculine, of course, we all have a balance of these energies within us. And if you do resonate with the divine masculine, then you can just take the messages as they apply to you. And I'm pulling the Fool card, which is showing me that as you embark, and I'm getting so many chills again, as you embark on this next chapter of your life, in whatever relationships this may be for you, whether it's a union or reunion with the twin flame in whatever timing that holds for you. The Fool is representing you being able to hold in an anchored way, in an embodied way, your self-worth and discernment as it relates to your emotional wisdom and intuition in a relationship with the divine masculine. And I'm getting chills again. With the divine masculine who embodies the more strategic, rational, intellectual mind. And we're also getting the Quest Oracle card. So, wow, that is so fitting with the Fool. This is your biggest aspect of your journey in your romantic relationship with your twin flame in the future, moving forward, whenever this is for you. And that is this ability to show up in your embodied energy, opposite of the duality of the divine masculine energy. And for both of you to be able to hold those energies with boundaries, but also express them freely and in a way that is in alignment with your internal truth, your soul's essence. So, in other words, you're both showing up with union of self because you're holding your own energies. As we've said many times on this channel, the inner divine masculine is a container for the inner divine feminine. So even the King of Swords showing up with their rational mind, they still need a way to express it and to show up with the ability to be vulnerable, the ability for emotional intimacy. Like I said before, it's not that the King of Swords is only meant to always, ever express the divine masculine, but as a whole, each person is going to be able to hold and express both the inner divine feminine and inner divine masculine energies. And then you also have the harmonious union that takes place between you in this union. So one of you being primarily the divine feminine and one of you being primarily the divine masculine, but both being able to tap into both energies. And this polarity is the quest that you're on, achieving this harmonious polarity. So the quest card says, be bold and mighty forces will aid you. Take action. Good luck favors the brave. So this is about you showing up in your divine feminine energy, but having anchored in with your inner divine masculine, so that when you experience the King of Swords and their rational mind, you don't see that as any kind of trigger or rejection, because that would only happen if it was mirroring some kind of wounded internal energy within you. But rather you show up in this new beginning with the Fool, having integrated your inner divine feminine and inner divine masculine, and I'm getting chills again, so that you can show up recognizing the divine masculine in others and appreciating it, rather than seeing it as something that's opposing or rejecting you. And we're also getting the strength. So yeah, I mean, themes of being bold and brave and taking action in this new beginning, and having the strength and knowing that your angels are there to support you always. Whenever you feel out of balance and you feel you need guidance, you simply need to sit in meditation and call upon your angels and spirit guides and ask them to help you navigate whatever experience or situation you're going through. If there's some kind of trigger or projection that you need to process, or if there's some part of you that's feeling like one of your internal energies, the internal feminine or masculine, is in overdrive, or one of them is being neglected, your angels will give you the signs and synchronicities and guidance to help you achieve balance again. And before I close this reading, I want to pull one last oracle card. But before that, I want to channel into a specific scenario that I'm picking up on for the collective. And this could be a trigger that you may have experienced in this twin flame dynamic. And that is the concept of thinking versus overthinking. And if you've ever been triggered because somebody has told you that you're overthinking and you don't feel like you are, you feel like you're simply just reflecting or analyzing or just thinking in a way that is healthy and balanced, this can be a trigger when you feel like you are seeking clarity on a topic, or you are even seeking information from your twin flame, or maybe even reassurance, which can come from a healthy place of wanting to communicate and be on the same page, but it can also come from a place of codependency and relying on external validation. So that's for you to understand. But when you are already feeling like your twin flame is not prioritizing love or connection or union, and you are trying to seek clarity on this and you're told that you're overthinking, that can feel like a rejection. And when the divine feminine is seeking connection, seeking love, but is not being pursued and can feel that the energies are not reciprocated, it can feel like gaslighting to be told that they're overthinking. And so I want to touch on what it means to overthink. So truly what overthinking is when you are repeating the thoughts, the stories over and over in some kind of negative spiral, and there's not an equal counterbalance of feeling. So it's okay to think a negative thought. That's a normal part of the human experience. But when it repeats and then there's no connection to the feeling in the body, that's when it's overthinking and it's out of balance. So if you are thinking a lot about a scenario and how it is not satisfying or fulfilling you, or how it's not making you feel good, instead of replaying that loop, which will inevitably come up later when you experience something that reminds you of this, it'll kind of play like an automatic default program because you're building that habit of your neurons firing in that way. So what instead you should be doing is shifting to how it feels in your body. And this is the somatic work that we talk about so much on this channel. Because when you shift to your body, you bring it out of the mind and you bring your attention to the source, which is your body. And that's how you can begin to calm your nervous system through that somatic awareness and healing. And instead, the overthinking or the thinking becomes this valuable tool because it's simply a signal or an alert or some kind of sign. It's information that leads you to connect with your body. And truthfully, the source is not even in the body. The source comes from your soul, and then the heart translates the message from the soul into a more embodied way, which is why nervous system regulation is so important, because when you've lived a lot of experiences in life that are out of alignment with your soul truth, your body stores that as information. And then as a last step, it makes it to the mind, where the mind will tell the story and develop those thought patterns. So you can see with the mind being the last step, why staying in that mental energy and thought loops doesn't serve you and doesn't heal, it's simply a dead end. And that's why it's better to work backwards in the sequence. This is the flow of how we experience reality. It's better to work backwards and take it to the body. And then when you're able to really see and feel and understand with clarity what's going on in the body and what's being experienced at a bodily sensation level, then you're able to understand why it's not in alignment. Like why a negative feeling doesn't feel good is because it's not in alignment with your soul's truth. Or if something feels good, if you do feel fulfilled in some way, because this also goes for positive experiences in life and positive feelings and thoughts, then you feel and understand why that experience is in alignment with your soul's essence and truth. So I hope this helps give kind of an overview of how that inner work that the Page of Pentacles started us off with in the reading can be done in a way that serves you and your internal processing, your internal states, and how, as a result, this helps fuel and sustain with harmony your union with the twin flame, even with the existence of these polar opposite energies, the duality of the feminine and masculine that we're aiming to achieve union of in a harmonious and compatible way. So I'm going to close the reading here. As always, I would love to hear from you in the comments what resonated, what you may be experiencing on your twin flame journey at this time. And every like and subscribe means so much to me. And I just want to thank you so much for being here, for being part of this collective, and for showing up continuously to do this inner work and raise your frequency. Because when you do so, you raise the frequency not only for yourself, but of those around you, of the world around you, the whole planet. So again, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.